That statement was not simple, nor was it always accurate. It depended. So here, even when Jesus was telling people, when they were asking him for a sign, he says, you understand the signs of the sky, which they really did not, but you fail to understand the signs of the times. And then Jesus went on to tell them, a wicked and adulterous generation seeketh after a sign, and there shall no sign be given unto it but the sign of the prophet Jonas. And he left them and departed. They didn't understand that either. They didn't understand that. He said, you're not going to get any sign but the sign of the prophet Jonas. And they were saying, what in the world does that mean? Scholars still debate on that today. Bottom line is this. When your ears are opened, you will hear from God, and you're going to hear from yourself. You're going to hear from those members. And there are still other evil spirits out there that will speak a word to you too. I cannot, nor anyone else, give you an absolute guaranteed way that you will know. Even in the last message, one of the safeguards was to go to 2 wise people and ask them and have them verified. What do you think would have happened if Noah had gone to 2 wise people? It could not have been confirmed in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, because no one in the world would have told Noah that he was doing anything that made any kind of sense, and that could not have been from God. So there are sometimes people in some situations where you can't verify it, you really don't know, and you're just going to have to, I would always advise you to go to those 2 wise people, but sometimes you won't even know then. So how do you really know? Main thing I would make sure of is that you have a real solid prayer life, that you spend some time with God and away from all of the noise of the earth. Live right, know his word, and live unselfishly. When you can start doing those 3 things, it will take you closer to God, and the devil will have less of a stuff to grip you by, and your members will have less of something to grip you by. How to hear the voice of God. I wish I could just give you a simple 1, 2, 3, and I wish I could just tell you how to just know without question. But it's like my opening message when I quoted another man. He said, if you could do that, and if people really could know absolutely whether they are hearing from God. Do you know Jesus said he's going to be like the sign of the prophet Jonah? Have you all ever read Jonah? I mean, it's only 4 chapters. You need to read Jonah. He was a prophet. First of all, Jonah sat up under that tree and he wanted to die. Second of all, what God told Jonah didn't happen. Because you know God told Jonah to go to Nineveh and tell the people this city will be overthrown in 40 days. It didn't happen. And when it didn't happen, because the people repented, and God said in verse 10 of the 3rd chapter of Jonah, and the Lord said he repented of the evil that he was about to do to the people of Nineveh, and did not do it because they repented. And it made Jonah mad as he could be. Because Jonah said, I done told these folk this, and it's not happening. And it's going to make me look like a liar. And Jonah was upset. So the people didn't know whether they had heard from God or not with Jonah, because it didn't happen. But the point is just, so even the sign of Jonah, when you go and read Jonah, you got to know what's going on in the heavens for you to even understand some of the stuff that even happens on the earth. And the point is this, even when God has decreed a thing, your actions can influence the outcome of it. See, God had told Jonah, I'm going to destroy this city in 40 days. Go tell them. And he went and told them. That king said, whoa, my goodness. He went and put on some ashes and sackcloth. He called a fast. He said, look, nobody in this kingdom going to eat a thing. If I catch anybody eating it, I'm going to kill them. Nobody going to eat anything. We're going to fast. Because God come here to destroy. And God saw all of that and made you turn around. You Read it. Read Jonah 3:10. He said, and the Lord said he repented or the evil he was about to do to him. He changed his mind. This is a point. Even when God has decreed something in your world, your actions can change that thing. Because it changed it for the people of Nineveh, and it made the prophet mad because it didn't come to pass. Your actions can change something even that has been decreed in your life, positive or negative. That's what happened to the children of Israel in the promised land. God had promised them the land, but they talked so much negative. He said, you never get into this land. But he had promised it to them. That's why it was called the promised land. But what they spoke changed the very decree of God. So it lets you know, people, that you have power in your words to even affect the words that God speaks and has spoken. It's what happened with the Nineveh people. It's what happened with the children of Israel. Live right, know his word, and live unselfishly. Live right, know his word, and live unselfishly. For those of you who are listening electronically, it's been off television for a while. We're over our normal time, but this is our one Sunday out of the 4 that we shall go over. And we're preparing now to actually, I'm going to ask Minister Stephanie Bronner. I'm going to ask Prophet Dexter Harden. That was a third prophet, a fourth prophet actually, who was going to come. That was Sister Frida, but she snowed in. Now, you all remember the story when I told you a few weeks ago when I first began the series and God told me to have Prophetess Frida close it out. And she actually was here that day, but I didn't see her. And she said she was here because God had spoke to her and woke her up and told her to come. She was supposed to close it out. But I didn't see her. And if I didn't see her, I just didn't see her. I looked for her, but I just didn't see her. How many of y'all have had stuff God done spoken? You just don't see it. I didn't know she was here. And she said she was way back in the back. She came up from downstairs. So I figured it had to mean, well, he said close it out. Well, this is the close. But she can't get here today because she's one of the folk who is snowed in. So sometimes this stuff just doesn't work. We see through a glass darkly. I cannot see all of the stuff clear. I don't understand a whole lot of the stuff. It's some stuff God has spoken into my life. I absolutely do not just spoken through other prophets, confirmed it 3 or 4 times over. Some of the stuff I just don't understand how in the world I'm going to get there. Just have no idea. But I see through a glass darkly. And once I get there, I may look around and say, so this is what you meant. I didn't realize it was this. We see through a glass darkly. And oftentimes we will even hear through that same glass darkly. But if you live right, know his word, and live unselfishly, it will help you stay on the path that's going to get you to heaven. All of us want the promise of heaven. Heaven is not the problem. The path is the problem. That's why Jesus gave you the example of the path. Wide is the road that leadeth unto destruction, and many thereof shall enter. Narrow is the way, and straight is the gate that leadeth unto salvation, and few there be who find it. So we've got those paths, and it's the path that's the problem. It always is, not the promise. It's the path. So I just want to ask now, first I want to ask Minister Stephanie and Prophet Dexter to come, and all 3 of us hear from God. Now, I'll tell you right now, I've been wrong some. There's no question about that. So I can't explain it. But I'm right most of the time. I'm about like Pat Robertson. He said he right most of the time. So I've been wrong sometimes. There's no question about that. But I hear from God, and I do the best that I can to follow what I hear. My challenge is that path. It's not the hearing. See, to be honest about it, I have heard enough from God where I don't have to hear from God another day in my life. I just got to do what he's already spoken to me. That's my, I don't need to hear another word. Well, I'm not going to say that because I probably do. But as far as I'm concerned, I don't need to hear another word from God. I got enough challenge trying to do what he's told me already. And many of us want to hear. That's why I had to cut down some of the prophecy, and that's why most churches will not allow prophecy in their church. Folk get addicted to it. They want to hear another piece of prophecy and another piece of prophecy and another. You ain't done the first piece of prophecy. So the problem, I don't really need another word from God if I can just do what he's already told me to do. That's my problem. You haven't done the first piece. I have one lady who comes to the God Heals every single time. And God spoke some stuff for the lady to do. And I oftentimes, I don't remember people from month to month. When the lady came, I didn't really remember, but God spoke. He said, ask her about the last thing. I said, what about it? He said, she said, I was here last time and you told me to do something. I said, I said, did you do it? No. And I'm saying to myself, well, what you back again for? You haven't done what God spoke to bring the heat. And she came like 6 or 7 times straight. And next time I remembered, and I said, have you done what God spoke? No. And she just stand up and be laid hand. Did you do what? No. And every month she would come and say, no. And I'm saying to myself, when the lady gonna do what he spoken the first time? So sometimes people, we want to hear a word and a word and a word and a word and a word. And we have not done the word that we've heard originally for God of what he has told us to do. Live right, know his word, and live unselfishly.
Hallelujah. Brothers of the word, when the voice of God is heard, brothers of the word, there's a word from God for everyone. Brothers of the word, because brother, you need the word. Brothers of the word. Brothers of the word.